Hello and welcome to another Wiktionary series video. Today I'm going to show you how to do a new entry without the use of a template, so no copy and pasting. I'm going to teach you how to go ahead and submit that via typing, as well as editing pre-existing pages. I think these are tools that are necessary, kind of navigating Wiktionary, especially if you aren't able to get access to any of the templates. This video should be helpful in either helping you understand how these templates work and maybe creating a new template for a new category such as demonstratives, etc. Um, but yeah, very briefly, I'm going to go over how to create a new entry for a word without using a template, as well as editing pre-existing pages. So I'll start off with the editing because I think it's quite easy. And there's also multiple ways to do it, so I'll try to keep it very brief. And by multiple ways, I really just mean two primary ways. So I've pulled up this pre-existing page. I use this page a lot because I think it's kind of the model for me. It's one of the most fleshed out pages in a lot of ways. It has related terms, it has a category, it has the actual category of what the word is. So noun versus, you'll see down here, this is the category for worms, as well as related terms and also usage example. So it has quite a lot to work with, and I think it's a good place to demonstrate how to edit a pre-existing page. So as I mentioned previously, there are two distinct ways that you can edit pages. If you know specifically what you want to edit, so let's say you want to edit the definition, then you would click right here. That would give you access to just this section of the page. And let's say you find out that this is no longer an unspecified type of worm, but rather it's a larva, or larvae plural. So let's say we have, it's a larva, and then you would have to obviously change this usage example as well, because the English version of it was interpreted by yours truly. Some of the sentences I had to use translation softwares from Spanish to English. Well, I guess San Juan Quique Chitino to Spanish to English. But most of them I feel like are pretty true to what they were meant to represent. So once you change this section, then obviously now you have more information to work with. And now you can say you saw a type of larva. And so that would change those two sections of the page, and you'll see those changes show up right here. And if you want to go ahead and link these pages, any type of new like terminology, or whether it's like a specific species of things, or if it's maybe a bigger word that a person who is learning English as a second language would maybe have a harder time trying to understand what the meaning is, I would put those words in brackets. So what I mean by this is you'll see up here that this is not in brackets, but if you were to encase it in two brackets, you'll notice on the right side that now the word is highlighted in blue. If you hover over it, you'll see that there is a more intricate page that kind of shows up as a preview. And this links to the English Wiktionary, but if you're in the Spanish Wiktionary, if you obviously type the word in Spanish, then you would get the Spanish Wiktionary preview of what larva means. But obviously, we don't have that information right now, and I'm not a native speaker of San Juan Quique Chitino, so I will keep it as it is. But this is just one way that you can edit the page. So now that we have made no changes, I'm going to go back to the main page. The second way that you can make changes to a pre-existing page is by going up here at the very top. You'll see this button right next to history and read that says edit. You can go ahead and click on that, and once you do, you'll get the whole page that you can edit. If you aren't wanting to change just one specific thing, but rather you want to look through the entire thing and make any changes, this is the easier way to do it, so you don't have to go back between sections. So let's say, for instance, that you want to create a new spelling variant that you found or would like to contribute. If you are a native speaker of the language, obviously you have more free reign to do this, but I'm working within limits. So the easiest thing that you can do if you want to add a spelling variant, for instance, is you can already just have, or since you already have this pre-existing template, you can go ahead and copy it and then add a new line. And then let's say, you know, let's change this section right here. So that would change over here. And let's say, I don't know, there's an X now, which doesn't make any sense, but we'll do this for the sake of showing a change happening. So now you'll see that there is a new way of spelling this word, as well as having a specification that this is a spelling variant. So that is one way that you can edit, that is one way that you can contribute, is by adding spelling variants, or possibly if the way of spelling this word were to change, then you can go ahead and change it. Let's say, for instance, instead of S, they added a CH, which again would make no sense, but for the sake of saying that there was a spelling change, then you would go ahead and add those. But since none of those are true, we'll go ahead and remove that. Oops. And let's say, again, if you want to change the definition of it, I'll use a larva example again. So now that we've made a change, we now know that this is larva. We can go down here to the edit summary. This is all you have to do for the edit summary, is just making sure that you communicate to other Wiktionary users what changes you have made to this page. So I made a change in definition. So I would just say change in, and that's all you would have to do. Since this is a pretty large change, you're changing the definition of the word, and you want to indicate that to other Wiktionary users and other users of the page if they go into the technical stuff, like if they read the history of the page. For instance, if you were to read, you'll see that it was mostly me working on this page. I just exited out of something. Oops, that's fine. You'll see that there are kind of commentaries of what's changed, what's new, etc. And so you would say change in definition made. But let's say, for instance, that you didn't really change anything. Let me go ahead and just Control Z this, because I don't want to mess it up. But let's say all that was changed was maybe an article or some sort of spelling check. Let's say if worm was spelled as such, and you need to change it back to WORM, then you would do so. And then you would just say down here in the edit summary, spelling correction. And since it's a small thing, such as changing, an article such as A or N, or if you were changing the spelling to make sure that it's a correct spelling, then I would say that that's a pretty minor edit. That's not necessarily changing the meaning of the word. It's not adding new content such as new spelling variants, etc. I would make sure that that is a minor edit. I think there's different versions of what a minor edit means to people, but that's kind of how I've been using the minor editing, whether it's just a small correction of the words or a small correction of the spelling. All of that would just be minor editing. And then if it's a new content that's being added, then you would obviously indicate that this is a huge edit, or a huge edit, a pretty significant edit, and you would not check that this is a minor edit box. So I hope that was very brief and pretty easy to understand, but that is how you would edit pages, and those are the two primary ways. Again, if you know what section you want to edit, so let's say if you want to update the definition, you would obviously change the definition, and that's the only section that you would like to work with. But let's say if you want to do an overview of the page, then you would obviously go to this edit page up here, and you would get the full entry that you can kind of look through, edit, and kind of just go ahead and make and contribute any edits. All right, and now doing a completely new entry, which is going to be pretty fun. Without the use of a template, I'll kind of show you what you would need to do to create a new page if you don't have access to the manual that's being written currently, actually revised, I suppose, and if you just have no idea what's going on. It should be pretty easy. So I have the corpus here again. I have access to this through Dr. Hilaria Cruz herself. And this is the word that I've chosen to do as an example because I think it'd be the easiest. So again, what I do, if you watch the adjective and adverb entry video, you'll kind of know what I'm doing sort of, but all I'm doing is copying this so that I don't make any spelling errors and just pasting that in, capitalizing the first word, and now you'll go to this page again. If you're familiar with the other videos, you'll know very much what this page means, and you'll also see that there are a plethora of other SJQ Chatino entries, which is pretty cool. So we'll go ahead and click on this red, and now we're at a new page, but we don't have a template. It seems daunting at first, but it's actually pretty okay. So the first thing you want to do is indicate what language you're working with. So you do this by doing 2 equal signs, and then you would enter the language that you're working in. So let's say for whatever reason I'm working in Frisian. Then I would want to indicate that this is the page for Frisian, but obviously it's very much not. And so you would indicate that this is San Juan Chatino. So now that we have that, I believe I spelled this right. Yes. Okay. I just wanted to double check. Now that we've had the entry for what language we're working in, we just want to make a new line. I believe this is... Okay, yeah, no, let's not do that. Don't use this button. So now we go down and we want to indicate any alternative forms that there might be, which in this case, there are always going to be alternative forms because we use both the alphabetic forms as well as the SHML tones as examples. So we'll go ahead and indicate that there are alternative forms by doing 3 equal signs and then typing alternative forms and then closing it off with 3 equal signs. So that should now show up as a bolded section right here. Again, if you don't have access to this preview, all you have to do is go to this top right corner, click on preview, and it should come up at least within a few minutes. All right, and now we want to indicate what the alternative forms are. So you go ahead and you go ahead and type asterisk. This is just indicating that there's going to be a new entry, and we do 2 braces, and then we do alt. Alt just means alternative form. We're indicating that this is going to be on an alternative form entry. Then we close it off by adding the straight line, and then we do OMQ hyphen SJQ, and then close that off with a straight line. Now we are at the part where we need to do the SHML tones for this. If you don't have access to the conversions for alphabetic to SHML, you should look at the adjective and adverb video that I just had posted about a week ago, I suppose. And that should have all the conversions that I've been using. Again, all those conversions came from Dr. Hilaria Cruz herself, so hopefully they're correct. So we'll go ahead and type CHAQ, and F is going to be LM, and then we indicate a hyphen since that is within the language, or within the word, and then we do NO, and J equivalent is ML. So now that we've had that, we do 2 straight lines, and then we indicate that this is SHML tones, and then we close it off with 2 braces. And once we have entered that, it should pop up as such. Great. And then the easiest thing to do now, since you've already taken such a beautiful time to do all of this, is to just copy it and paste it down. Then we change this to alphabetic. And now you know what you're changing, hopefully anyways. If you don't, that's completely fine. So now we know that this section right here, after the 2 straight lines, is indicating what sort of alternative form it is. And so this is obviously SHML, and this will be alphabetic. So what I found easiest to do is just copy this, and then we'll go to this Chatino keyboard. It's a virtual keyboard. You can just go ahead and type this link in, and you should be able to access this page. Thankfully, I have it bookmarked. So when you first get to the page, this is the default page. I usually move that up. And then you want to scroll down to alpha upper digits, and now you have access to all these superscripts. And we go ahead and press or paste that in. If you want to use your mouse, you can just right click, then click space. And now we do F. So unfortunately, when you use the F, it gives you a lowercase. So I just keep F as a regular capitalized non-superscript F. And then we go and find J. So now we have this. I just copy it and then paste that in. And you'll see that there's a change right here on the right side. Brilliant. So now that we have alternative forms, we go down and make a new line, and now we're introducing what type of word this is. And I believe this is an adverb. Yes. So again, we do 3 equal signs, and then we type in adverb. Oops. And then we close it off with 3 equal signs again. So now we are indicating that this word is an adverb. Next thing is 2 braces, head. This is again just pulling from this entry right here is what head does, I believe. I'm not entirely sure, but this is what I believe. And then you have OMQ, SJQ, again indicating what language it's in. If it was English, then you put EN. If it's in Spanish, then you put S or ES for Español. And then we finish this off with adverb, what sort of section it's in. So obviously, since this is an adverb, you would put adverb. If it was an adjective, you would put adjective. But obviously, this is an adverb. So after that, we close it off with 2 braces, and then you'll see that this word right here pops up right here. Perfect. And how you check what section it's in is down here. You'll see that this says SJQ Ticino adverbs. If you were to change this section to adjective, this should also change as well. If you change this, it does absolutely nothing down here. This is the important part right here, because it's going to categorize this page into where it needs to go. Sort of like a filter, I suppose. But this does absolutely nothing. This is just an indicator. It's just decorative, I suppose. But since this is an adverb, whoops. And then this is also going to be an adverb. There's that. So now we need to create the actual entry itself. So we have so that as the definition, para que and so that. So we go here and we type in the £sign or hashtag, depending on how you want to call that symbol. And this is where we put in the definition. So I am going to separate these 2 words so that we have them available. And actually what I'll do is put an ellipses in the middle to indicate that this is sort of like how you would use the phrase. So insert and then that, etc. So this is an adverbial phrase in some ways. And that is your definition. That is what you would do. And then I believe after that is when you use the usage examples. And if it has a usage example, which it does, some words don't. So like up here, you have, oops, this one actually, anything. These 2, or this word does not actually have a usage example in Ticino or in Spanish. So you'll notice that certain words actually don't have usage examples, and that's completely fine. That means you just won't put that in. But since this one does, what I have done is I copied this and pasted it into the usage example once I type that up. So again, we're going to do a pound sign. And then following the pound sign, we're going to put a colon. And then a colon followed by 2 braces. And now you would use UX for a usage example. And then you follow that up with a straight line to cut that off. And then you indicate what language you're in. So OMQ, SJQ. Close that off. And pretty simply, this is where you would put in the usage example. So we just go ahead and copy and paste that. And all of the zeros I've been putting to an S by the conversions that Dr. Cruz has given me. And that way it's pretty consistent. I don't want to use any numericals or like kind of mixed the orthography, so I've just been changing it all to alphabetic. And now that we have that, we go ahead and give another straight line. And this is where you would have to translate from the Spanish to English in order to accommodate for the English Wiktionary. But in the Spanish Wiktionary, all you would do is just copy that and then paste it into the other side of the straight line. But since this is Spanish, we have to translate it to English for the English Wiktionary. So if you are familiar with Spanish, then obviously it would be easier, in English of course, it'd be easy to translate this from Spanish to English. But if you're not, you can go ahead and use any other translating software that is readily available. Again, I would use the ones that have been more vetted for just throughout time in Spanish classes, such as Spanish Dict, as well as I believe Reverso.net does a pretty good job. But those are the translating softwares that I would use, aside from just general translation or interpretation that you could do if you know Spanish and English well enough. So obviously this is take medicine so that you do not get hot anymore, I believe. Or take medicine so that you don't get hot, I think. So you go here and you would translate that from Spanish to English. So take medicine so that you don't get hot. And obviously I'm using the so that right here just to indicate that it is what's being used. And you'll see how you indicate stuff in just a moment. So after you are done with that and you put your period, and the asterisk is just to indicate that this sentence has been interpreted, meaning that it can change if you want to make edits to that, or if you find that the English translation doesn't hold up to what it truly means or what it is said, then you can go ahead and change that to your heart's desire. Obviously, this is for individuals who are native speakers, since they would obviously have more knowledge of that. But again, this is just kind of what I took away from the Spanish translation. So then you close it off with 2 braces, and you are now completely done with this page. Just kidding. There's one thing you have to do. So over here, you'll see that this is the word that's being used. And so you bold that, and then you have the English equivalent right here, so that, and you would bold that as well. So now you know how to do a new entry without having the template readily available. Hopefully this has been some help. And then let's see, for the edit summary, since it's an adverb, I have these like sort of templates already set up because I've done so many entries, but I just submitted an adverb for SJQ Chatino from a corpus provided by Dr. Hilaria Cruz. Sentences elaborated on via interpretation, so that's why there's an asterisk there. English translation may need to be expanded, etc. So that is how you would do a new entry, and then you would just go ahead and publish page, and now this page is accessible to anyone who has access to Wiktionary pretty much, and as long as they know how to spell this and or access the language page. So yeah, so hopefully that was some assistance to people who don't have access to the templates. Again, it's pretty straightforward. If you know what you're changing, it's pretty easy to make edits, and there's at least 3 different ways, well, mainly 2, but 3 different ways, I suppose, of interacting with this website is to do smaller edits, or like through bigger whole page edits, or just through providing an entry. So yeah, hopefully this was some assistance. If anyone has any questions, then just leave it in the comments and I'll try to get to you as soon as possible. Thank you for watching and have a great day.